paper pattern in school in the month of September, please do not take it for granted that it will be the same for the board exams, right? It might change. I hope you guys are able to listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just a second. So the paper pattern, as you people know it very well, the paper pattern is reading section, writing section, and literature section. And now from the reading section, the note making have been deleted. I'll be sending the deleted syllabus on WhatsApp. I'll send it to Sunita ma'am. She'll share it with you people, right? And there are a few chapters from literature as well that has been deleted. And when we talk about the writing section, from writing section, articles, speech, and a few letters have been deleted, right? So poster making, that has been deleted. So there are a few topics which have been deleted, and we should be happy that note making is not part of 12th class syllabus for this year. So those who people face a lot of problem while making notes, now you people won't. Okay. Okay. So let's start with the chapters and the poetries. I am going to start with my first poetry. The poetry is My Mother at 66, which is written by Kamla Das. And I hope you people have received the notes. So if you people want to open it up, you can. Otherwise, you can just listen whatever I'm saying, right? And then you can go through them. Okay. So when we are talking about My Mother at 66, that shows her age. So this poetry is all about the age. This poetry is all about the fear of loss and separation. So there are a few things that we have to talk about in this poetry. So firstly, we'll be talking about the poet Kamla Das. Kamla Das, who's an Indian English poet, and all her poetries, maximum, I won't say all, her poetry is basically based on personalities, personality of the character, you can say, right? Or which is somewhat related to the personality. So the basic theme of, yes, anybody want to say something? Guys, you can keep your mics off. Whenever if you want to, you can just speak in between. Right. Okay. So the basic theme of this poetry is the aging, which is basically a natural process. And when we talk about aging, aging is what? Aging is basically when we lose strength, right? And then it is also about fear of death. So when a person gets old and the person is not able to do things on his or her own, so that is the process of aging, which is again a natural process. And this poetry is based on this theme, that is aging and fear of loss and separation. And it also talks about one of the important things, that is daughter and mother relationship, right? So they have a good bond. And now very important thing about this poetry is that this poetry is written, the whole poem is written in one single sentence. So we'll be reading out the poetry first, and then we'll be continuing with the things, and I'll be explaining you the poetry. What I want to tell you, the basic thing about the poetry is that the theme that we've discussed and the relationship that they've talked about in this poetry, and the tone of the poetry is sad. Sad because there's fear of loss and separation between mother and daughter. right? So let's read out the poetry first, and then we'll be doing it, summarizing it up. Okay. Driving from my parents' home to Cochin last Friday morning, I saw my mother beside me, doze, open mouth, her face ashen like that of corpse, and realized with pain that she was as old as she looked, but soon put that thought away and looked out at young trees sprinting, the merry children spilling out of their homes. But after the airport security check, standing a few yards away, I looked again at her, wan, pale as a late winter's moon, and felt that old familiar ache, my childhood's fair. But all I said was, "See you soon, Amma." And all I did was smile, smile, and smile. So this poetry where Kamala Das is talking about her mother, her mother's age, which is like 66, and she's grown old now, right? And now they are driving from, she's driving from parents' home to Cochin airport, and that was the last Friday morning, where her mother was sitting beside her in the car, and the way she was sitting was like that. She was having her mouth open, and she was quiet, she was depressed, and they have even compared the face of the mother. She has even compared the face of the mother with the corpse, that is the dead body, right? And which seems like that when the mother was sitting beside her, she wasn't responding, and she was just she might be in a statue mode, we should say, and in a rest mode. So she was finding it very depressing, and she was not finding it good, and which seems like, yes, she's grown old, right? She has even been compared with the ash, where we say that her face used to look very pale, right? So over here in the first few lines, where she's talked about when she's traveling with the mother in the car, and she looks at the mother in the car, and the mode of that particular time is like the depressing mode. And to overcome that depressing mode, or you can say that to get out of it, she started looking outside the car. So when she started looking outside the car, she found everything different. Everything different means that the trees are sprinting and these children are playing, they're very happy. So she had a very good mood now. Earlier, when she was inside the car, she wasn't having that good mood. But now, when she was outside, she was looking outside the car, then she's having a very good mood, positive mood, I would say. Right. So there's an imagery. What is that imagery? Imagery is that when it is inside the car, the environment is totally different. And when she's looking outside the car, the environment is totally different. Right. So over here, basically, the young tree sprinting is the personification. If you people want to note it down, you can. Similarly, I have mentioned earlier, like with the lines itself, right? Where she's talking about the young trees sprinting, she's basically talking about the passage of time, how time gets passed, right? And when she's talking about these two things, and when I'm saying there's a contrast between inside and outside the car, inside the car, when she's looking, she's thinking about the age of the mother, and she gets upset. And when she's looking outside the car, she feels like the time passes. Like earlier also, when her mother used to be young, they used to enjoy. But now when she's old, she's not ready to speak much, and she's grown so old that if even she feels, if even if she wants to speak something, so that even gets depressing. So she's finding it totally different. And merry children spilling, merry is the happy, merry means happy, which means that merry children spilling, the children are playing out of their houses, the young children lively and they're very active. And where she compares her mother totally non-active, not even energetic now because of the age, right? And when the poet talks about Van, I looked again at her, wan, pale as late winter moon, and felt that old familiar ache. Van over here, she is like, she's feeling that she'll lose her mother now, because when she's comparing it with the late winter moon mean that is the pale face and full of fog, because when we talk about late winter moon, that means that is foggy, mist, where everything is not clear, right? The things are unclear. And so now, when she again looked inside the car and when she has reached the airport, she finds that she again moves to that depressing mode and she finds her mother again pale. And now she's compared it with the winter's moon and felt that old familiar ache. Now, old familiar ache from childhood, we have that fear of losing the near ones or the dear ones. So now this is the familiar ache, that familiar ache where she feels that she might lose her mother, and she has no idea whether when she'll reach back, she'll be able to meet her mother again or not, right? But all I said was, see you soon, Amma. All I did was smile and smile and smile. Now see, the daughter is having two types of emotions here. One is the sad emotion and the other one is the afraid. She's afraid. Sad because of the reality that her mother has grown old, and afraid because of this thing that she might lose her mother now. And whenever she'll be back, she has no idea whether she'll be alive or not. But the ending is ironical. How it is ironical? It is ironical because she has that fear that she'll meet her again or not, but still she hides her pain, right? And she chooses to smile and conceals that upset mood, because that is why. And at the end, she says that all I said was, see you soon, Amma. And all I did was smile and smile and smile. Though she's upset, she's sad, she's full of pain, and she's having the fear of loss and separation, but still she changes that mode and she says that we'll be meeting again, and she smiles and she conceals that mode, and she bids the goodbye in a very happy manner, right? So this is all about this poetry, where we have talked about the daughter and mother relationship, where daughter is leaving the mother and she has to go somewhere, and she has to get separated from the mother. Where in the first few lines, it is all about the age of the mother, how she's looking, and then to change the mood, she finds something else. And again, she's comparing the mother with the late winter's moon. And at the end, she ends it with a happy mood, right? So I have highlighted the important words in it, and I've written the meanings as well. I'll be sending you these class notes as well, and the other notes have been sent to you earlier also. So you people can read it out, and if you have any doubt, you can ask me right now, guys, in this particular poetry. Anybody? No doubt. Can I move ahead?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, guys. Right, perfectly fine. So you people are requested to please read it out, whether from these notes or from the notes that have been provided to you earlier. Okay, right. So let's start with the next poetry. I'll be starting with the next poetry. The poetry is an elementary school in a slum. So when we're talking about elementary school classroom in a slum, anybody can tell me what is elementary? It is which level? Guys, there's somebody whose mic is on, and I'm muting you. Sorry. Okay. Yes. Anybody can please tell me what is elementary?
Primary 1 to 5.
Yes, primary 1 to 5. So when we talk about an elementary school classroom in a slum, over here, what happens, guys? I don't know anybody has gone through the slum area or not. When we talk about the slum areas, there are children who of the different age group sit in one class and learn the same things, right? So when I'm talking about this slum school or slum classroom, That means that the students of class 1 to 5 are sitting in the same room, and those students are learning the same things. Being of different ages, they are learning the same things, right? Just because of lack of facilities, lack of all those requirements that they require to study, and many a times, I would say, lack of knowledge about things, right? So this poetry is written by Stephen Spender. It is very important to remember the names of the poets, whether you remember the name of the authors or not. But for poets, it is very, very important. So now over here, there's the slum classroom where they have talked about how students are sitting in the class, how they are learning, what is the condition of the classroom, and what types of donations are being done, and what are they learning from those donations, and what Stephen Spender requests at the end for the improvement of these slum classrooms. So this particular poetry, when we start reading from the first particular paragraph, I'll be explaining you para-wise what they have talked about in each and every paragraph. So let's start from the first paragraph itself. Far, far from gusty waves, these children's faces, like rootless weeds, the hair torn round their parlor, the tall tree with her weighed down head, the paper-seeming boy with rat's eyes, the stunted, unlucky heir of twisted bones, reciting a father's gnarled disease, his lesson from his desk. At back of the dim class, one unnoted, sweet and young, his eyes live in a dream of squirrel's game in a tree room other than this. Now they have talked about this particular classroom where they find different types of children who are sitting in the class, right? So the first paragraph talks about the slum area and the slum classroom and the slum children, right? So firstly they've talked about a young tall girl, that tall girl whose head has been weighed down. Now that head might have weighed down because of two reasons, because nothing have been defined. So what we find that there might be two reasons. The first reason might be fatigue, that she might have got tired, because when we talk about slum people, they work as well as they study because of their parents pressure, how that they have to run the family and all, right? And the second reason might be the responsibilities that she's having, and because of that her head has been weighed down, right? So we just have to guess it out whether what is the reason. So we have given both the reasons, whether because of tiredness, fatigue, or because of the responsibilities that she has on her shoulders, right? Now they've talked about the next child, that the paper seeming boy. When we talk about paper seeming means the thin boy, the skinny boy, we can say, which is like malnourished, right? And his eyes are compared to the rat. And when we talk about the malnourished is basically who do not get good food to eat, basically, right? And then they've talked about the third one, that is the unluckily the heir, the boy who's having the twisted bones. Normally one should be happy, again there's an irony, I would say. One should be happy that somebody gets something from the parents, inheritance. But when anybody gets something inherited, but over here he's one of the unlucky ones because he has got uh, a disease from his father, right? Inherited a disease from his father. The disease is ricket, and where he's not happy at all. And then they've talked about the fourth boy, the sweet young boy, where they've written the unnoted, sweet, and young. That, which means that a child who's sitting in the class, and at the last bench he's sitting, and he's very sweet, he's young, and he's enjoying his life. How he's enjoying his life by looking outside and looking what squirrel is doing and all those things. So basically the lives of all these children are totally different from the lives of the normal students. Normal student means the urban children, the children who are getting proper education. And they have been compared with the rootless weeds. If you can read it out in the second line, like rootless weeds. So over here, these children are basically compared with the unwanted plants. Rootless weeds means जहाँ पे भी हमें कुछ भी plants का जरूरत नहीं होता है, वहाँ पे वो plants जो है वो grow कर जाते हैं. So they have been compared with those unwanted plants that we do not need these students, but these children. But now though they have grown up, now though they have got birth, so it's the responsibility that they have to be educated, but they are not getting that proper education. So which is like a very darker side of the life, we would say, right? And this happens still in so many other places, right? So this is the first paragraph. The second paragraph basically talks about the classroom, how the classroom look like. On sour cream walls, donations, Shakespeare head, cloudless at dawn, civilized dome riding all cities. Belt, flurried, trellis valley, open-handed map awarding the world its world. And yet, for these children, these windows, not this map, their world, where all their futures painted with a fog. A narrow street sealed in with a lead sky, far, far from rivers, capes, and stars of words. Now, over here, they've talked about the classroom. The description of the classroom have been given, that how this classroom looks alike, right? So, firstly, they have talked about the walls of the classroom, and how is the walls of the classroom? They are the sorry, creamy walls, right? Where they've talked about the dull lives of these slum students, and where there's lack of color in their lives because of this classroom also. Even if we are not providing that good education, and if we provide the good environment also, still it's better, and they feel like learning. But over here, they are not even providing the good education, and they're not even providing the better environment for them to study, right? And now they've even talked about the donations in it, that people give so many things, and all those things they do not even think while donating. And in fact, those teacher who's putting it on that wall, he or she even does not think about it, that what it is all about, right? So there are a list of donations on the walls, like Shakespeare's picture is there, or there is some flowery picture, the valley picture, and there's map. So there are so many things which has no role to play in their lives. Why? Because poverty in their lives is like which feels like mocking their lives with the list of these donations. So when you people are donating these things, these people have not even have an idea about it. When we talk about Shakespeare, what they have to do with Shakespeare, when it is class 1 to 5, they do not even have an idea about Shakespeare. Who is Shakespeare, right? So the picture of Shakespeare on wall means nothing to them. So it's like even if you're putting it on that wall, you are not providing them any kind of education to them, right? And when we talk about Shakespeare picture, again there is ironical. Why it is ironical? That we are talking about elementary classroom, and in elementary classroom the children are not taught about Shakespeare. So basically that's not child's play. Shakespeare is not child's play, where we have to talk about Shakespeare in class 1 to 5. So while putting up these pictures, they haven't even planned or thought of, right? And these beautiful sceneries, again, they're mocking their lives, where slums are living in the dirty area, the filthy area, and now they're putting the beautiful pictures, what they want to show with it, right? And then the maps, again, the world map, very much wrong item, I would say. Why it is wrong item that has been put up in the class? Because it doesn't include their world. Wherever these people are living, that has not been even shown. So what is the fun of showing that world map to them? What are they learning from that map? So all these pictures are basically irony for them. And the world for them is what? The world for them is the world that they look out of that window, right? Those windows which are there next to them, near to them. So that is their world, not that world map, right? So their future is like painted with the fog, which is like not clear, which is unclear. and in fact, few things are not clear to them. So when we talk about far, far from rivers, capes, and stars of words is basically education, right? And now they have the limited opportunities. They do not get much opportunities, and when we talk about they do not get much opportunities, it's like there's lack of everything for them. Nobody even considers them that they can go ahead with the things, right? So there are few things that they have to go through to learn better. And the word far far has been used many a times in it, which means far far is the repetition that has been used in the first paragraph and in the second paragraph again, which actually wants to tell us that it is very difficult for them to go out and learn until and unless if anybody tries to hurt them out, right? So the second paragraph is all about the classroom environment that has been provided to them. So now the third paragraph, when we talk about the third paragraph is where the poet is very much angry. So let's read it out. Surely Shakespeare is wicked, the map a bad example, with ships in sun and love tempting them to steal for lives that slyly turn in their cramped holes from fog to endless night. On their slag heap, these children wear skin peeped through by bones and spectacles of steel, with mended glasses like bottle bits of stones. All of their time and space are foggy slum, so blot their maps with slums as big as doom. So now over here, the poet is basically trying to draw our attention on the way these children are living in the slum area and the hardships that these people are facing, right? And now they have talked about Shakespeare, and they've talked about Shakespeare as the wicked, that is the evil man. Why? Because again, again the same thing that we've discussed earlier in the last paragraph, that it's not the child's play, that they have to talk about Shakespeare. Beta, somebody's mic is on. Can you please switch it off? Kindly check your mic and switch it off. Thank you. Okay. So when we talk about Shakespeare also, and they've talked about Wicked, so basically, if anybody wants to reach, or I would say read out Shakespeare, which is impossible for them to reach. Why? Because they have no idea about it. Next, they've talked about map. Map is again a bad example for them. The consequences on life with the map is what, that they'll be involved into different activities. All those activities like theft, and which will mislead them, right? So which is again not a good source, or I would say not a good thing for them. And when they have talked about the cramped holes are the places where the rat lives, which is again very very dirty. So they have compared it with they've compared those slums with the cramped holes, where they've talked about all those dirtiness, right? And they've talked about the heaps, as we have read it out. So all those heaps are what, the garbage places basically. And they've compared these children with those things as well. So now what is happening, basically they want to talk about what, they tell us that the future is totally foggy, which is totally unclear. And that is because of what, that is because of the lack of opportunities. So they are hurting these children, and they are creating a lot of problem for these children by talking about all these things and by donating such pictures which are meaningless to them, right? And they even talk about the spectacles that they wear, which are like very cheap and very uncomfortable, and the lenses of spectacles are repaired by them, and these spectacles look like these stones which have been repaired with a piece of glasses, right? Like which are not in a very good condition, we could say. So what poet over here wants to try to explain it to us, that there are so many there are so many hurdles that they have to go through, they have to pass, and still these children are doing it, but only when these children are provided with the good opportunities, right? A better opportunity, we could say. So now these slums are getting bigger and bigger. Why it is getting bigger and bigger? Because nobody is trying to help them out. and these slums are destroying the future of their own children. Why? Because they want to run their families, they want to run their own homes, so they send these children to earn money. And we can find there are so many children who are sitting on the lights asking for money, selling things, and which is like very difficult for them to escape from this particular world, the world of the slums, right? So in the last paragraph, he has requested the dignitaries, the government, who can actually solve the issues for them. So he says that unless governor, inspector, visitor, this map becomes their window, and these windows that shut upon their lives like catacombs, break or break, open till they break the town, and show the children to green fields, and make their world run azure on gold sands, and let their tongues run naked into the books, the white and the green leaves open, history theirs whose language is the sun. So now over here he talks about, he basically talks to the concerned authorities. He urged those concerned authorities to intervene for the betterment of these slum students, these slum children, right? And who are these concerned authorities? The governor, inspector, and the visitors. Because he says that with their intervention, everything can be possible. If these people want, everything can be done. So he wants that whatever the education they're getting right now, that is not good. He wants to give them a fair chance so that they can show their potential, right? And education, when given to anybody, that is the supreme importance. For him, it is the supreme importance that everybody should get that education, because it is the right of each and every human being to get educated, right? And he even says that he is requesting the governor and the public to help these kids in achieving their dreams. He wants them to achieve, and he wants them to show their potential if given a chance to these children. And he says that if given a chance, they will remove themselves, or they will take themselves out from that darkness, and they will be able to brighten up their own future, right? So he says that they will then go through the white and the green leaves. Here these white and the green leaves depicts the books, and the green leaves depicts the nature, so which results in the progress, and they'll be able to paint a bright future for themselves, right? So they'll be able to brighten up a future. So where here he says that history there whose language is the sun, so the sun is the bright future over here for them. So when he's talking about the elementary classroom, the first paragraph talks about the slum students, the second paragraph talks about the condition of the classroom, the environment of the classroom. The third paragraph talks about where the author is very much angry. Sorry, the poet is angry because of the donations that has been done, and with the help of those donations, what these children are learning. And in the fourth paragraph, he urges, he wants the concerned authorities to take a step, and so that these slum students can show up their potential, right? Is it clear to all of you? Any doubt in these two poetries?
फर्स्ट पैराग्राफ की लास्ट लाइन समझा दें.
Sure, dear. His eyes like in a dream of squirrel game in a tree room other than this. Over here, he's talking about that the child who was the unnoted, a young child who was sitting inside the classroom, he was not interested what is going on in the class. He was interested looking outside how squirrel is playing in the tree house. Right? So he even wanted to go and play outside with those squirrels in the tree house. He was rather interested in the class because the classroom environment wasn't that good. He was more interested in playing with the squirrels, where the squirrels were playing outside in the tree room. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, I would request you to just take 5 minutes and go through the poetries once again. Just read out the poetries instead of the summaries, And if you face any problem, then we can discuss right now. Otherwise, I'll be moving ahead with the chapter. So just take 5 minutes and read it out for yourself, both the poetries. Okay, I hope all of you might have read it out. So let me just start with the next chapter. Is it done, guys?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, let's just start with the first chapter of the book. That is the last lesson, which is written by Alphonse Dot. And though the name of the chapter is last lesson, but it is the first chapter of the book, right? So this chapter is all about a student and a teacher, and how the student and the teacher realizes what has to be done, what were their responsibility, right? For a student, what was his responsibility towards the school and towards the teacher, and teacher's responsibility towards these upbringing of the students, right? So basically, it is set in days of Franco and Persian War. Which is like 1870 to 71, where France was basically defeated by Persia, right? And with that, they decided to go ahead with German as their language. Okay. So basically, when we talk about this particular chapter, the last lesson, which is which is like set in the days of the Franco-Persian War, that is in 1871, where France was defeated by Persia, and after that, it was decided that German will be taught in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine, right? So where earlier they used to study French only. So, what is the theme of this particular chapter? The theme of this chapter is that the pain that was inflicted on the people of of that particular place, where they were forced to study or speak the other language and leave their own language, right? Just because they have not won the war, right? So this is basically the pain, or I would say the people were thinking. Now, what happened with the after this war? The impact of the lives of the children or the people living there. It had a worst impact on the lives of the children. How the worst? Because they were forced to leave the language. They were forced to speak the other language, which was not their own language, right? So now the story begins where the France has to go to school, but he was very late that particular morning, and he was even afraid. Why he was afraid? Because he had to uh, explain the topic participles in the class, because his teacher might ask him. So firstly, before we start with it, we have two main characters: France, who is the student, and M. Hamel, who's the teacher. The teacher who has taught in that school, or I would say served the school for 40 years, right? So this is something very, very important that you should know. So now, as he was late for the school, as we started with it, and he was not even interested in going to the school. He was afraid because उसको डर था कि M. Hamel might question him up regarding participles. And when M. Hamel was teaching participles, he wasn't attentive in the class, though he was present physically, but not mentally, right? So he had no idea about participles. So all those thoughts were running in his mind, and then what he thought of spending the day out only. by not going to the school, but to spend the day out only, to see the bright day and the birds and everything and the soldiers drilling, right? So he wanted to see all those things, but again he decided not to see all those things, though he wanted to. It was his own thought, but then he resisted his temptation uh, towards his thoughts, and he hurried to the school. So while he was going, there were few people who asked him not to run. You won't get late, so you can go slowly. That's perfectly fine. So, but he thought that the person is mocking him, and the person doesn't want him to reach school on time. So he started going in the same pace, right? But then he realized that there was a bulletin board. That bulletin board, the board which always have the uh, all those informations which are not good for them, right? So he found that there are so many people who are surrounded near that bulletin board, and he felt that something bad is going to happen now, because this bulletin board always gives the bad information, provides the bad news only to us. So the boy hurried up to the school, and when he was reaching the school, he found that something was different. What something was different? That something was like, he found that everything was quiet, and he compared that silent classroom, the quiet classroom, with the Sunday morning classroom, where there's no hustle bustle and everything is quiet, and nobody was talking. Everybody was inside the class, and there was no noise from the class also. So he felt that whether he has entered the right school or not, right classroom or not. But then when he saw from the window, he saw that his classmates were sitting inside the class, were already in the class, and M. Hemel was also there, and he was with his ruler under his arm, right? And when Franz entered the door, he was frightened that he might get that ruler on his hand, but M. Himmel asked him to kindly settle down on his seat. So he was shocked to see that what happened. What is this? And I was thinking that sir will definitely scold me for this, but he just kindly asked me to get settled down on my seat. So later on, what he noticed that M. Himmel was wearing all those clothes which he used to wear when something important is there, like any inspection or any prize distribution of the school. So he was wearing the frilled shirt, and he was wearing the beautiful green coat, and he was even wearing the embroidered black silk cap. So these three things which he noticed, which was like totally different from the normal routine, though he never wear all these types of clothes in the normal routine. And what was something very different was that the village people were even sitting back on the back side, on the back benches, right? So everybody was sad, and everybody was like in a depressing mode. So he had no idea that what has happened. Though he had an idea that definitely that bulletin board has brought some bad news, but he didn't know that what is that bad news all about. So then M. Hamill started with his last lesson. But when he started with his last lesson, the tone of that lesson was very sad, and but still he has to, right? So he started with his last lesson, where he said that this is their last lesson, and he has been ordered to shift to the other school. Hence, some new teacher will be coming to the school, and German will not. The German will be taught in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine now. So the new teacher might come the next day, and this is the last lesson of the French. So he wanted everybody to listen to him very patiently and attentively. So at the same time, Franz actually felt guilty, and he realized that what he's done with himself. That now, when he wanted to learn things, right, after that guilt, that French won't be taught anymore. Now he realized that French, which is the mother tongue, is very, very important, and he has not learned anything till now properly. Now that will not be taught anymore. So, what M. Hamill wanted, M. Hamill actually wanted everybody to listen to him properly, right? So now France even understood that why M. Hamill is like dress up in these clothes, and why those old village people were sitting at the back benches, just because it was his last day. And as I told you, that M. Hamill has served 40 years, for 40 years, right? That 40 years faithful service, which was very, very important. He served for 40 years in the same school, so that was something very important for them. So now M. Hamill asked France to recite, but as we have discussed earlier, that France had not understood anything because he was physically present but not mentally when M. Hamill was teaching. So teacher that time never scolded him just because it was his last day. So he basically said that it's not your fault only, it's not Fran's fault only, it's the fault of the parents and the teacher itself, right? So he says that this is the beautiful language in the world, which is the clearest and the most logical. He has said that French is one of the most beautiful languages in the whole world. And the second thing that he has talked about, that is it is the most logical, the clearest language, right? So he says that I want you people to never forget this language, and this is the only language which is the key to their prison. If you want your language to survive, then you have to fight for your language and you have to speak your own language, right? Though it is not going to be taught, but you have learned your language, that is your mother tongue, right? So then they had their grammar and writing session where M. Hamill prepared the notebooks himself, right? And where Alsace, France, French, and Lorraine was written, and he wanted all those people to write something into those notebooks, as this was their last lesson, right? So after writing, they had their lessons in history and all those things, and they were singing the songs and everything. And what happened, the same moment, the trumpets of the Persian returning from drill sounded, right? And M. Hamill stood up, because that was the signal that the classes are over, and the last lesson of the French is over now, and he has to get over with it, and he has to get up from there. So he was very much choked up. He was depressed now. He was sad now. So he wanted, now this was the situation where he wanted to stay back, but because of the orders, he has to leave that place, right? So then he took a piece of chalk, and what did he write on the blackboard? He wrote three words in French, that is Viva la France, that is long live France, right? So after he just wrote and he stopped writing, and he basically leaned his head against the wall, and without any word or any gesture, he just left the place, left the school, and he dismissed the class. So the last lesson is basically what? The last lesson talks about uh, how these uh, things have been created, that just because of that war, everything changed. And now they are not supposed to learn their own mother tongue. They're not supposed to be taught their own mother tongue. They have to speak the other language now, and they're forced to speak the other language. But he actually gave that important point to them. He indicated that important point to them, that your own language is present to your keys, right? So if you want to unlock yourself, and if you do not want to be the slaves, then you have to fight for your own language. My order is that I cannot stay here, though I'll be teaching my own language, but I'll be teaching in the other school, not in the same school, right? So over here, what they have talked about, they have talked about all these things. And when we talk about these characters, these two characters, and Franz and M. Hamel. So firstly, when we are talking about M. Hamel is one of the strict teachers, right? Now, it was some notice that was passed by Berlin to teach only German in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine. So he has to go away from there. And now, thirdly, they've talked about the way he was dressed up in the ceremonial attire, I would say, the formal attire, right? Just for his last lesson. Though he was very patient and kind to the students on the last day. Though he's very strict, because when students never used to answer, he used to hit them with the scale. But on that particular day, he was very much quiet and he was very much kind and very in a very patient manner. And he even made the notebooks for the children, where I said the Alsace France was written on those notebooks. And he ended the session with an emotional note by writing "Long live France," and he dismisses the class. And when we talk about France, the speaker of this chapter, he how was his character in this chapter? He used to go to school very late, and then when he knew it that M. Hamel might ask him something, he decided to uh, spend the day outside, though he was getting tempted by the nature, but then he decided not to go ahead with his temptations, and just because of fear of getting scolded by M. Hamel later on also. So he went to the school, though he did not learn his lessons on past participles, and he was even worried about the crowd near the bulletin board. So everything was going on in his mind, and he was surprised by the change scenario of the school. What was changed in the school, that normally children used to speak all together, they just used to recite the chapters all together, the lessons all together, and at that particular time, there was quietness. The classes were quiet, sorry, and it was like it was Sunday morning. So he at the end bids final adieu to the teacher. That is, he say bye to the teacher. So there were two things that you have to remember, guys. Those two things are what? If you people want to note it down, you can. The classroom, how was the classroom usually, and that particular day when it was changed? So usually the classroom used to be in a great bustle, noise while opening and closing the desk, and lessons that were repeated in unison, and teachers striking the ruler hard. But that particular day, what was changed? The things that were changed, like everything was very still, quiet, like Sunday morning, and nobody has to shout on those children that you please go back to your seats. Everybody was sitting on their own seats, and M. Hamel was pacing up and down with the ruler under his arm, right? And in fact, Franz was scared to enter, but though he entered, and everything was settled down very nicely. So at the end, he says that mother tongue inculcates in us the feeling of freedom and belongingness. That what he said, that is the key to your prison, right? So this is all about the last lesson, where they've talked about the two main characters, Franz uh, and Hamel, right? Is it clear to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, right. So you people can go through it once for just 2 minutes, overview of this. If you find anything which is like very important for you to know, you can just ask me, and then I'll start with the next chapter. Okay, guys. So I hope you people have read it out. Let's move on to the next chapter. And the next chapter is the third level. So third level is basically what? The third level is just the imagination and nothing else. Imagination of the character named Charlie, who is basically the protagonist of this story, and then the friend and his wife, the three main characters in it. So which talks about the third level of the Grand Central Station. That's Grand Central Station, which is the huge station in New York, which basically have two levels. But according to Charlie, there are three levels, right, in that particular station. So the story begins in 1958 after both the world wars, and the story talks about the Grand Central Station, which normally has two stations, but according to Charlie, there are three stations, and for others, the third station is just the uh, I would say imagination of Charlie and nothing else, right? And over here, I'll be just telling you in brief firstly, and then I'll explain it to you in a little good manner, a better manner. So this grand station, which is actually having the two levels, and now Charlie, who is the office worker, and he was late from the office. He was working at his office, so he got late. And when he reached the station, so he went to the station, and while he was walking, he reached the first level where he missed his train. And then when he hurried up to catch the train from the second level, so again he missed it out. And when he was walking, while walking, he got lost, as it was a very big station, and it has so many gates and corridors. And he finds himself onto the third level, right? The level which was having the ticket counter and the bulletin board, everything. And he even found the attire of the people was totally different from the attire they were into, right? And he found that there was some newspaper that was lying, the newspaper named The World, which was having the date published June 11, 1894. So he found himself into that particular station, and he found that there was a ticket counter where they was giving the tickets for Galesburg, right? So he decided to purchase a ticket for his wife and for himself, because his grandfather used to live in Galesburg, and he used to tell him that it is one of the good place. But when he went to purchase ticket, the ticket person told him that you are not having the original currency. So that means you are making fun of us and you will be arrested. Because though he went to that particular time, the past time where there was some old currency, but right now he was using the new currency, right? So he got afraid, and he ran off from there. So he recited this whole story and what he felt in front of Sam, right? Sam, who is the psychiatrist, and he's even Charlie's friend. So, and he told Charlie that he told Sam that he's unhappy and all those things that happened with him. Though he has gone to that particular ticket counter of the third level, but people say that it is not there. But then Sam told him that you are actually escaping yourself from the reality. There is no third level, and you're overburdened with the things. You're overburdened in the office. So, because of that, you might have that illusion, that hallucination. So, nothing, it's not original. It's not, this is not the reality. So you have been mistaken. But Charlie did not agree with it, because Charlie felt that the ticket person even said that you'd be arrested because you're showing the fake notes to me. Those currencies are not original. So he was very depressed, and he was not able to recollect things. But then a very new thing came forward, that Charlie has a hobby of collecting these stamps. and the same his grandfather used to do. So he's having a lot of stamps, and Charlie even finds an old stamp that was his grandfather's time, right? Which was dated 1894. And so even Sam told him that, not exactly to him, but Sam said that all those people who collect the currencies, collect the stamps, they try to basically escape themselves from the reality while collecting all those things, right? So then when he found that particular stamp dated 1894, and that stamp was on an envelope was having a letter, and that letter was from Sam Wiener, who was Charlie's friend, the psychiatrist, where he addressed Charlie, right? And where he basically invited Charlie to one of the beautiful place, that is Galesburg. And Charlie didn't even thought of that this might happen, right? So he even wanted things to be changed. So what happened? Charlie went to the bank, and when he checked out with the bank, he found that Sam has got his new currency changed into the old currency, and he has gone to Galesburg. So even Charlie decides to get his $300 changed into his old currency. So he was told that when you will be paying $300, you'll be getting $200 only. So though Charlie has to pay some insurance amount, some health insurance amount, but still he decided not to pay that, and he decided to go to Galesburg with his family, with his wife. So when they decided to go for it, and why he wanted to go, because his grandfather used to live in Galesburg, right? And he wanted to clarify things, that yes, there is third level. So but after getting the currencies changed, and when he goes to the station and he finds nothing and goes back home, right? So after reaching home, he finds that Sam is missing. So when he again looks at the letter, and he gets confused, and Sam also got his currency changed, and he had also traveled time and reached Galesburg. So basically, this chapter is all about what? This chapter is all about that. Uh, it's all about the hallucination. It's all about the imagination. Nothing else. Basically, there is no third level, but they have reached that level. And when he finds that Sam is missing, when he went in search of Sam, then he even realized that he has gone to that he has even traveled the time, right? So when we talk about this particular chapter, and when we started with this chapter, that he found all those things which were not actually the part of this time period. So he has traveled time at that time, when he was on that particular third level, right? So his wife even got worried, and he even seek help from psychiatrist friend, but he even refuses to believe, and says that it is just his dream, and it is just his fear, his insecurity, and nothing else. It's just that he's escaping himself from the reality. But Charlie was desperate to go to Galesburg. So again, as we said, that he got his new currency changed into old currency, but then he could not find that third level. But with this Sam's disappearance, uh, actually changed something, and has something to do with Galesburg, as he was fond of that place. So one day, while going through all these things, he found that Sam, who is living in Galesburg, is searched on the third level. Charlie finds that Sam has bought his old currency with $800, and Sam was Charlie's friend. He was Charlie's psychiatrist. So he even got to know that in that letter it was written that Sam is in Galesburg, and he's doing one of his business of hay fields and grain. So he wanted to reach there, but basically that wasn't the reality, and he felt very sad with that. And Charlie found out from the coin store that he used to visit Sam, and had bought old currency worth $800, which was to be utilized in a hay, feed, and grape business, which what he always wished to do. He could not go back to his old business, certainly, not in Galesburg. The story ends at a mysterious note where Charlie is wondering that Sam is psychiatrist, right? Where he's actually wondering whether this is the truth or not. The person who used to guide Charlie, right now, that person needs guidance, right? So this is all about the third level, the level which never existed. But these two characters have created so many things into this level and wanted to reach this level. But in reality, there was no third level, right? So any doubt, guys? Anything that you want to know? See, this is something, this chapter is like you need proper reading of this chapter. Why? Because there are so many pointers where they are talking about, and you need to discuss upon those pointers. And if you want, we can, I can just wait for you people and you can just go through it. So if anybody wants to know anything, you can, and you can just go through the chapter. And I'll continue the next 3 or 4 chapters, which will be there in your syllabus, I hope. If anybody is having the syllabus, you can please send it to me, and I'll see to it. The syllabus of your school exam, the exams that you're going to have in the month of September. So you can share it with me, and I'll do the rest of the chapters in the next class. Until then, you people can read out these chapters, and if you face any problem, you can let me know. And right now, I would request you people to just go through it. And if you have any doubt, you can ask.
मैम फाइनल का क्या सिलेबस?
Sorry?
मैम फाइनल एग्जाम का सिलेबस?
Final exam ka syllabus bit, I'll share it with you guys. There are a few things that has been deleted. If you want, I can just let you know the things that has been deleted.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, sure, I'll do it. So the final paper says that firstly, there will be reading section, that is the comprehension section, which contains 20 marks comprehension, 2 passages, and that will be again of the multiple choice questions will be there, right? And vocabulary of that particular passage will be there. Then the literature they have talked about. For literature, there are a few chapters that has been deleted. The name of the chapters are Poets and the Pancakes, The Interview, Going Places, and out of the poetries, they have deleted A Roadside Stand. And from the other book, that is the Vistas, they have deleted The Tiger King, Journey to the End of the Earth, and Memories of Childhood. So what I did today, I did 2 poetries and first 2 chapters of both the books, right? So I'll be going ahead with one more poetry and 2 chapters of Flamingo and 1 chapter of Vistas. So the next chapter of Vistas. Tiger King is not there, and after Tiger King, whichever the chapter is there, we'll do that. So if any changes there in your syllabus, or if you people have received any syllabus, you can just share it with me so that I can plan my chapters or lessons accordingly, right? And from reading section, note making has been deleted. The whole portion of this note making, 10 marks have been deleted, and they have added 2 comprehension paragraphs with the multiple choice questions. And from the writing section, they have deleted the poster making, which is again a 5 marks question, and advertisement and notice is still there. They have even deleted the business official letters, all those letters where we had to inquire about things or where we have to register complaints, or we are asking for providing us information regarding the orders and sending replies. All such types of letters have been deleted, and speech and debate has also been deleted. So these are the things that have been deleted. But what are there in the syllabus is the notice at the advertisement, which is of 5 marks, and the formal or the informal invitation and its reply, again, which is of 5 marks, and then the letter, which are based on like letter to the editor and all those things, where you are writing the application for a job also. So these letters are still there, and these letters are okay, they have changed a thing, that notice, advertisement, and invitation. They're of 3 marks now. 3 marks. Letter is of 5 marks, right? And the article writing is there, and the report, and the descriptive writings, like any graph they'll be providing you, or any picture they'll be providing you. That type of writing is there, which is again of 5 marks. So this writing portion is of 16 marks, and the literature portion is of 24 marks, where they'll be asking you 5 short question answers from your chapters, right, from the book, and then 2 short types of answers, which is again of 2 marks, and from the book Vistas, and they'll be asking 1 long answer, either from the poetry or from the book of Flamingo, from the chapters of the Flamingo, 5 marks. Again, they'll be asking 1 important long question from the book Vistas, that is again of 5 marks. So which makes 24 marks for the literature section. So which says that writing and literature all together is 40, and reading is 20. Right? So all these things have been mentioned. I'll be sharing this particular portion with you guys so that you can go through it.
Okay, ma'am.
I'll share this. I have shared this with Sunita, ma'am. So she'll share it with you, and I'll share these notes also with her, so that you people can go through them. I hope almost things will be similar. I have just mentioned few things into it, to what we've done right now with the help of the flowchart, so that you can remember the characters, and you can remember the important pointers in the chapters or in the poetries, right? So please do see all these things, go ahead with the things, and send me the syllabus if anybody is having it up, right? You can share it with me. There are few students who are having my number, they can share it with me, and I'll just go through it, or you can share it with ma'am, and ma'am will share it with me. I'll definitely share the formats of the writing section that are there in your syllabus, guys. Yes, my dear? Somebody was saying something?
Ma'am?
Yeah.
Ma'am, now the article is of 5 marks.
Yes, my dear.
Report.
Article or the report writing is of 5 marks.
Earlier it was of 10 marks. Then
10 marks.
what are the changes that we can make now?
Now the word limit has been reduced, and earlier we used to make so many stories while writing. Now we can be precise. Like when we used to do the note making, we have to be very precise with the note making summary, that important pointers to be mentioned. Similarly, we have to mention those important pointers to it, right? So this is what they've told us. Now we have no idea whether the whole paper, now when we are talking with this writing section, especially when we talk about English paper, this writing section, they cannot take this writing section in the objective mode. So we do not have an idea right now that how they're going to conduct the papers. So let's wait for the pattern, and let's wait for the things, and we'll get to know about it. But right now, when you're having your school exams, let's see how they're going to give it to you, and we'll get an idea from there as well. Right? But if I get any information regarding the pattern and regarding the paper mode, I'll surely share it with you guys. Okay, so let's meet again with the chapters that are left. So thank you guys, and have a nice day. Ma'am, can you repeat what is there in the reading section both? My dear Shubham, I have sent the syllabus to Sunita, ma'am. So she'll be sharing with you that what will be there and the boards regarding the reading and the writing section. Right? I'll ask her to share it with you. Okay, guys. Good evening to all of you.
Thank you,
Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. Very good evening.